I promise you, you have never, ever seen a chronograph like this. For Watches and Wonders 2026, Parmigiani Fleurier presents a chronograph unlike anything you have ever seen before, a world first. Why does it only look like a time-only three-hander right now? Because this is the new Tonda PF Chronographe Mystérieux. Parmigiani Fleurier is known for its emphasis on private luxury, beautiful objects designed strictly for the wearer's own pleasure and education. There's little desire from the brand for its creations to become hype watches, though the refinement of the Tonda PF lineup in recent years has certainly drummed up some buzz, particularly amongst those in the know when it comes to high-quality watches. Clearly, Parmigiani won me over with its GMT Rattrapant. Its hidden dual-time GMT complication, something I definitely make use of in my travels. It's a clean two-hander when I want it to be, or a GMT dual-time the moment I wish so. No unnecessary dial clutter. This functionality was then remixed for the Tonda PF Minute Rattrapant, which presented a novel approach to a countdown timer. I mention these two models and the notion of private luxury because these complications both exemplify Parmigiani Fleurier's distinct approach to watchmaking and complications that reveal themselves only when called upon. They say the best things come in threes, and we now have a third design with a complication that reveals itself only when you want it to, the Tonda PF Chronographe Mystérieux. The watch is presented in the same cohesive Tonda PF format with a 40mm beautifully finished stainless steel case and coined platinum bezel. This is what I would describe as a but look closer kind of case, where when you stop to really look at it, you begin to understand its subtle complexity and detailing. For example, the lugs are somewhat akin to a cow horn style, but less protruding. And when you look at the polished lug hoods, that mirror polishing keeps going as the surface thins towards the middle of the case, becoming a thin polished bevel that frames the brushed sides of the lugs as they wrap around the beginning of the case band. At 13mm thick, the case has a bit more height on the wrist than its siblings, but 13mm for a chronograph, especially with its novel presentation, is admirable in my opinion. In fact, between a 100-meter water-resistant case and the hand stack required to conduct this marvelous horological symphony of hands, which I promise we'll get to in a moment, it is very admirable. Looking at the mineral blue dial, it at first appears as a clean three-hander. In this default state, you simply take in the hours, minutes, and seconds, and the fine and exquisite Barleycorn guilloché pattern that offers quiet texture to the dial. But once the monopusher, strategically placed at the 730 position of the case for optimal comfort and ease of use, is activated, this is when the private luxury party, only possible due to the brand's distinct sense of watchmaking mastery, really begins. With the first press, the three rhodium-plated chronograph hands execute an instantaneous flyback reset and an immediate start, transitioning from civil time display to chronograph hands. Once the rhodium-plated hands fly into action, the rose gold hour minute hands, indicating civil time once hidden but were always there and keeping time, appear. With a second press, the chronograph is stopped. The elapsed chronograph time in this manner is visible without any sort of fragmentation or hierarchical confusion. You don't need to look at the small hands on a, little subdial or counter, or need to be familiar with which counter conveys elapsed hours or minutes. You simply read it just like you would normally read the time on a dial. With a third and final press, the dial is reset, and in an instant, the rhodium-plated hands align precisely with the rose gold hands returning to the current time position. You know in Toy Story, how the toys are animated and alive and secret, but the moment Andy's home, Andy's coming back and he's about to walk into his bedroom, the toys scramble and return to their original position. That's this style. I would call it magical, but if anything, it's mathematical and incredibly complex. But I guess the artistry, or rather the testament to Parmigiani Fleurier's artistry, is that the brand makes it feel like it is simply magic, when really it's like a traffic controller guiding cars coming from all directions in order to pass safely. So unlike all other chronographs, at least with a single display, the dial can maintain the purity of a three-hander whenever you are not using the complication. And it's remarkable how a single hand performs the dual function of being the running seconds and the elapsed chronograph seconds. However, I should note there is perhaps one Achilles heel here, that when you reset the chronograph, the seconds hand will resume from where you stopped the chronograph. So unfortunately, the hand will not snap back to where the current running seconds was before you started the chronograph. Listen, for chronometric accuracy, this will pose a bit of a obstacle. That being said, this is a very artistic chronograph, and with the double Rochefort mechanism inside, there's only so much that we can really expect out of this style of chronograph. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below if that's going to pose a major issue for you. This is all possible thanks to the in-house caliber PF053, a 4 Hz and 60-hour automatic integrated chronograph caliber, beautifully designed and decorated and visible beneath the sapphire glass of the exhibition caseback. The caliber is just 6.8 millimeters thick, despite its innovative take on a chronograph complication, and though highly technical, it's also highly aesthetic, as I've said, with a 22-karat rose gold winding rotor above satin-finished and beveled open-worked bridges. The bracelet feels less like something affixed to the case and more like a seamless extension of it. The polished lines of the lug hoods fluidly continuing throughout, and the narrow satin-finished link pieces a step in, tapering with each passing link until they vanish. It is secured to the wrist via a comfortable butterfly folding clasp. If I'm being totally honest, when the GMT Rochefort debuted in 2022, I was blown away. When the Minute Rochefort debuted a year later, I was less blown away. I mean, I respect the complexity of the complication, but I could not emotionally connect with the countdown timer the way I could with the GMT function, which I had a clear use for and I could really relate to the romance of. In terms of popular complications or complications a wide breadth of people really enjoy and gravitate to, the chronograph is way up at the top of the list. And some people love chronographs not even for the functionality, but for the aesthetic of the counters and the various choices watchmakers make, whether a cohesive monotone dial, a panda dial, or even tricolor. Look, I'm not sitting here saying Parmigiani Fleurier solved a major problem a massive audience was looking for, a solution to. Then again, it's hard to want something nobody prior had ever made possible. This is its third world first, its third entry into what I can now call its hidden complication trilogy. So my questions for you are, what do you think of this new watch and complication? Are you as blown away as I am? And with this new hidden chronograph complication joining the GMT Rochefort and Minute Rochefort, which of the 3 hidden complications most speaks to you? Let me know in the comments below. Full pricing, availability, and specifications can be found in the description below. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the Time+Tide channel for all the latest watch news, reviews, and content. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.